The favoured runners in the women's competition, F1, Rebecca Chisia of Kenya was fourth a year ago, so we'll be looking for improvement on that. On what is a happy hunting ground for her, the Stramilano half marathon in Italy was where she set her lifetime best of 68:21. This course, as you can see, exceeds the total distance 50% of the overall between start and finish, so not valid for record purposes. So Rupp has converted his career to that of a road runner. He's paid his dues at cross country, graduate of the University of Oregon, and hoping to improve on that runners-up position in Boston. Chisia last year, fourth place, but she'll have her hands full with another athlete, Shankule, who was the winner here in 2015. Ben Hardy there in the middle of the shot, 18 years old today. So he may have plans for his evening, but he'll be spending his morning celebrating his majority by running from Rome to Ostia. And there's the elite women's field. Some of them have put their numbers, their names on the front. One or two of them have put their numbers on the front. Rupp's coach, Alberto Salazar, is here. He's in that black vehicle on the left-hand side of the shot as we go into the final countdown. I think the presence of Salazar perhaps indicating that this is a serious run out for Rupp. Yes, he has 4 weeks of marathon build-up still to conclude, but I don't think he'd be here if he didn't mean business. And Salazar, great student of the sport, will know that previous winners include Baldini, Robert Cheriot, 4 times the Boston winner, and Steve Jones as we get underway. So this will be the elites plus that first wave of around 4,000 runners. It comes towards an arrowhead in the middle. You can already see the distinctive vigour of Galen Rupp in the white and black outfit at the centre. Designated pacer for the men is Emmanuel Kipsang. He's one of the runners in the orange singlet. It's a very favourable downhill run, but that only lasts for about the first 300 metres, and then they climb up to complete a sort of oblong before they head on the straight run out towards the coast. And if we talk about races within a race, look at this. The single-digit numbers already opening up daylight over the rest of the field. Some great Italian athletes in there looking for personal best times, club records, qualification times. Kemai there in the red. Moses Kemai of Kenya, 24-year-old, 62:20 half marathon runner. So it looks as though most runners from wave 1 have crossed the start line. It will now be a 7-minute, or less than 7 minutes, 6.5-minute interlude till the second wave is set off in pursuit of them. The biggest national representations in here are from France, UK and Spain, all of whom have more than 100 runners. I think there's 40 from the USA. As I mentioned, 73 nations represented in this classic race. This is Jeff Whiteman with the international coverage of the event. So approaching the 2-minute point, all of the top seeded runners in that group. Rupp content to ride fourth at the moment. Emmanuel Kipsang, well, he's got a lifetime best of 60:14. He's a 27:22 10-kilometre runner, and he is the pacemaker. And you can see from the gaps that have already opened up, not significant gaps, but he is stretching them in these first couple of minutes of the race. By no means a blanket-type bunch there at the head of the field. Rupp had an outstanding 2017, winner in Chicago, runner-up in Boston. The first wave of runners that got underway, as we look at the women on the right-hand side of the shot, the elite women, all 5 seeded runners there together on the right-hand side. First wave of runners was para-athletes, so we had some visually impaired athletes and those just needing a little more time to get down the road, so they set off 4 or 5 minutes ahead of the elite wave. So in that women's elite group, we've got a couple of athletes who've raced here before. Rebecca Chisia wears F4. The athlete in yellow there is Rosalba Console of Italy, now 38 years of age, just to the back of that leading women's group of 6. And this looks to have been taken out fast in the elite men by Emmanuel Kipsang. Kemai in the red on the right-hand side there, Moses Kemai. His personal best significantly down on some of those with the low-digit numbers in the men's field. Very diminutive figure, by far the tallest in that group, Galen Rupp. And already one or two athletes out the back door in this leading group, which just suggests that they have gone out particularly fast. I suspect the pacemaking is designed around about 59 minutes as we ride with the leading Italian woman, Console of Italy in the yellow. Mixed race, so she will have company most of the way round. No need for designated pacemakers in the women's race. And there's the leading 4, or is it 5 women just up ahead of her in that cluster. It's a course that attracts runners from around the world because of its reputation for fast times, not necessarily valid for record purposes because of the separation difference between start and finish being more than 50% of the overall. But a classic road race, anything that is in its 44th year, long precedes the days when running was universally popular. So it has its roots in the 60s and 70s when running was the preserve of just the elite few club runners and international runners. Church of St. Peter and St. Paul just up ahead. There are some beautiful sights as they take this initial loop. Rupp says he's here on business. I think as a devout Catholic he has plans to visit the Vatican post-race, probably with coach Salazar as well. But with 4 weeks to go until Boston, very much an important first race of 2018 for Galen Rupp, Olympic medalist. So the runners around him include Justus Kangogo, who was runner-up last year. You can see him with that sort of stooped figure at the back of that group. Shankuli is the athlete who won here in 2040. Halu, that's Heftanamesh Halu from Ethiopia, the 24-year-old in the blue, riding second. And the athlete that's favoured with the number 1 seeded bib in the pink singlet there, Rebecca Chesire, last year's 4th placer. So we'll keep tabs on how the elite men and the elite women's races are unfolding. But this has gone out super fast in the opening kilometres. I think we haven't had an official split yet, but I think they're on around about 58.30 pace, and that's why we're already down to 1 pacemaker and 6 athletes, and everybody else is now operating a few metres back down the road. The leading 5 seeds all run together. It's funny how the men form a formation around them, but a good standard of running even for male athletes this, because they'll be looking for something around about 67, 68 minutes as a closing time. And that's why Rupp's here at the back of that group. The athlete with bib 7 is Solomon Mutai of Uganda. Kangogo with that loping action, still tucked in behind the pacemaker, who's doing an excellent job. On the right-hand side of the screen, Rebecca Chesire, 68.21 half-marathon runner, just behind Amani Bariso Shankuli of Ethiopia, the champion 3 years ago. She's gone on to be runner-up in the Prague Marathon. She ran a 2:22 there last May. So we're still looking at these same 7 athletes, including the athlete with 8, Desalane Dirara Harisa, the Ethiopian, lifetime best of 61.45. So if you have got a lifetime best of 61.45, this is clearly now operating at sub 59-minute pace. I don't think they'll all go the distance, 1 or 2 of them taking a big risk. But you can see the other risk is that if they allow themselves to drop off that leading group, it is a long, long way back. Look at Mutira already, the Rwandan, just in no man's land there between, well, there isn't really a secondary pack. It's either the lead group or running in isolation, and that is the risk. They'll be aware of that. So just trying to ride the train for as long as they can. But 1 or 2 of them are running 2 minutes inside their lifetime bests. We should name check that athlete number 20, the male runner there, Giovanni Gualdi of Italy, because he's doing an excellent job just taking that women's group through on their target time of around about the course record. Just under 67-minute pace. We'll see how that looks as the race unfolds. But all of the leading contenders, some very unusual high arm actions there, aren't they? That sort of stylized running where the two fists don't go very far apart, and it's all upper body twisting that seems to be a characteristic running style. In the men, still the pacemaker, Kemai Kangogo of Kenya, then Rupp behind that. Rupp looking pretty comfortable. He's got that distinctive sort of toe strike, so a 4-foot striker. Many tens of thousands of miles logged in training. He's been coached by Salazar since he was at Central Catholic High School. There's the fastest times in the world this year, the course record and the world record. It wouldn't count as a world record, that time by Tedeschi set in Lisbon 8 years ago. American record set by Ryan Hall in Houston in 2007, 59:43. So an academic time, given the requirements for record ratification in road racing, which are not more than 1 metre per kilometre in overall height drop, but also not more than a 50% separation of the overall racing distance. So if you have a half marathon, the start and finish can't be more than 6.5 miles apart, and this one is. There's the who's who with that African prize list, and there's the birthday boy, Ben Hardy, the 18-year-old, just at the back of that group, just hanging on a little bit. In the women's, nothing to choose. There is a big gap ahead of Gualdi, the pacemaker. So if anybody wants to take it on from this far out, 12 minutes into a 67-minute race, they are going to have to make a long, lonely run for home. So we are out now onto the historic part of the course. It's via Cristoforo Colombo. It will take them all the way to the finish at Ostia, where there'll be a little hairpin bend that gives them 280 metres in each direction before the finish line, just showcasing the ocean and the seafront area. Big crowds already gathered. Crowds along the course, although this is essentially a major arterial road. Rupp is by some way the oldest competitor in that lineup. A lot of racing experience in there. The age range of these women, 25, 26, 21, 31 are their ages. So people tend to turn to half marathon and marathon racing towards the end of their career. And there's the news: at 5 kilometres, it is quick. So they've gone through it in 13:50. And that equates to around about 58:40 as a finishing time. That would be astonishing. The course record 58:44 by Jago, set 2 years ago. They are, as I would say again, contending with a headwind this year. It's also, and you can't tell it from this shot, increasingly rainy. So the drizzle is turning into heavier rain. You'll get the indication of that when they pass the groups of spectators along the course. Who've already got umbrellas out, with thunderstorms forecast in about an hour or two from now. We're riding with one of the leading Italian runners here, high-seeded, possibly Luca Parisi. So the 18-year-old birthday boy is out the back of this group. We are down to 5 for the win, just 15 minutes into the race. One of them, Kipsang, the man at the front, is the designated pacemaker, doing an exceptional job. Tall figure, so he's a good windbreak for those following. Rupp looking very comfortable, not doing an ounce more work than he needs to at this stage, just riding in the centre of the diamond. And the women, we're seeing those 3. I suspect when we pan back, it may still be 5 in contention, all of the seeded runners. That will be Chesir, Shankule, Dira of Ethiopia, Yal of Ethiopia, So the bad news is, if you go out the back of this group, look at the huge gaps back down the road. Some of them were running with the leaders only a couple of kilometres back. But on this course, when you go, you go. And that's why, because it is pretty straight. There are a few little twists and turns on what is essentially a straight Roman road. But there are also one or two hills, and they're taking one of them at the moment. It's not a significant climb. It's a rise between about 20 metres above sea level to 50 metres above sea level. Over the course of a kilometre, but they're in the midst of that right now. And it looks as though with every kilometre that passes, one athlete becomes vulnerable. The man playing devil take the hindmost at the moment is Desalane Derara Harisa, the Ethiopian. 61.45, his lifetime best. Here's somebody that's already bought the farm, and that's Stephen Chibogat of Kenya, and he's a 60.19 operator, so that's an indication of how quickly they're rattling along at the head of the field. I suspect this uphill section will have an impact on their next kilometre split and drift the time back closer to 59 minutes. Meanwhile, in the women's race, Chisire, Shankule and Dida. Halu F7 is actually 3 seconds ahead of Dida, so the seeding is going exactly to form. She was runner-up in Beijing, she was runner-up in the Vienna Marathon, she was runner-up in the Singapore Marathon. That's our leader, Chisire. 3 marathons last year. 69.01 here last year, and she's operating inside that speed, and the little pink tag indicates where the women are on the course, and they will indeed also be approaching the uphill section of this first half of the race. And they all look pretty comfortable at the moment, don't they? If it is still Giovanni Gualda just ahead of them, he's doing a good job just protecting them a little bit from the wind. Looks like he may have gone. 9 is Felician Muhitira, the Rwandan, best of 61.56. So they've just allowed a few steps to set them back from Gualdi, who's been leading them. Those are the astonishing times that they will be pursuing. What did you do on your 18th birthday? I ran from Rome to Ostia pretty quick. So on the right-hand side of the shot there in the dark blue, F7, Heftanamesh Tesfaye Halu of Ethiopia. 74 minutes, her best, so she is operating way inside that as we have a look at the historic previous winners of this women's event. Italy provided the most recent non-African winner with Anna Incerti in 2011. So that's the kilometres per hour speed. I can tell you that's projecting to just under 59 minutes in the men's race. So pretty exciting stuff, because the course record is 58.44. And a bit further back down, the women operating not too far outside Florence Kiplagat's course record from 2012. That's the 22nd fastest time of all time, 66.38. And they're not, apart from Rupp, not looking to shelter from the headwind. So hopefully the breeze off the sea, heading towards them down via Cristoforo Colombo, isn't too stiff. So win, lose or draw, Rupp will head back and complete his preparations for the Abbott World Marathon Major outing in Boston. A race that he's desperate to win, having finished runner-up last year and won the Chicago Marathon. So he will have trained for that throughout the winter. And at the moment, having a very good day as we go through 5 miles with 8 miles to go. Still just inside 59-minute pace. We're going back down the road on the split camera for the 18-year-old, the Ethiopian. Yusuf Ben Hardy, born the 11th of March 2000. I've got shirts older than that. And still the race favourite in the red, Chisire. In the sky blue is Dida Dera of Ethiopia and Halu of Ethiopia as well. So it is Kenya 1, Ethiopia 2, Ethiopia 3. A little bit of history about that famous road that links Rome to the Lido out at the coast. Of this leading group, Dida at the back of the shot there is the only one who hasn't yet run a marathon. In a month when we have the IAAF World Half Marathon Championships in Valencia in a couple of weeks' time, you could pretty much say these three are half marathon specialists. The times they've run have been outstanding, the record they have. So Shankuli was runner-up in the Prague marathon, but the other two more prolific at the 68-minute distance, and looking very comfortable at the moment as they cruise through the 24-minute point. So beyond 1/3 of the way into the middle third of the race for this leading group of women. The pacemaker, or the man they've been following, Gualdi, favouring the right-hand side run along the median. It's not cold, it is 15-16 degrees, but you can see the spectators that have come out to the dual carriageway to encourage the runners are wrapped up in coats, umbrellas, hats. So it's raining quite hard now. So those three now have a significant lead in the women's race. That looks like it is going to be our podium. 4 into 3 doesn't go for our podium in the men's race, but Kipsang is on pacemaking duties. It is a massive, massive gap back to 5th place. So these four have got it all to themselves. This is the expo yesterday, race registration and number pickup, and the introduction of some of the elite athletes. There they are, looking like condemned men and women being introduced to the masses and being presented with their bib numbers at the expo. Natasha Ivanova of Belarus, she's F5, Shankuli F2. All very serious, aren't they? Not too many smiles. 24 hours to go before the race, but lots of applause. And the same was done for the men. Igor Oliferenko of Ukraine, Dino Sefer of Ethiopia, Kangogo of Kenya, Galen Rupp. Well, I'm glad we got a smile from somebody. Everybody else looked a bit like they've been handed something sinister. It's their bib numbers, and there they are on front of them, and running to form at the moment, because F1, 2 and 3 going well in the women's, and men's 1, 2 going well in the elite men's race. We're not far from the halfway point. The pace has drifted out a little bit, so we're now looking at something around just inside 59 minutes. The leading women still running with those men, so in an indication really, with the men able to keep pace with them, that there's nothing too serious been put in the way of a burst. But the relentless leader is still last year's 4th placer Rebecca Chesir. She'll know her way around this course. She'll know how important the closing stages are, and she'll know that although there are uphills to come, it is a nice downhill sweep to the finish. But it is quite a significant climb that is ahead of them between kilometres 10 and 11. And having said that, the men are still there. Just 2 of them, isn't it, really? Rupp has got his coach alongside in one of the accompanying vehicles. Alberto Salazar has been encouraging him from one of the media vehicles. I would guess the instruction is just stay there, stay, stay and stay, as we approach the midpoint of the race. All 4 of them, you can see the teeth starting to bear a little bit. Hard to tell whether they're sweating because we have significant rainfall now, but all 4 of them, hard to pick a winner at this point. Rupp, though, has stayed resolutely just at the back of that group throughout, so he's having to dodge a few back flicks now and again. Kipsang moves over to the right. I wonder if at the halfway point his race is done. You can see the head rocking a little bit. So he was asked to take them through at this speed. He looks back. I think his race is done. So we are down to 3. He's done a great job, but now it is a long run for home. So it is Kangogo, Kemai and Rupp that I think will battle for the honours here at the 44th running of the Huawei Roma Ostia half marathon. Those are the splits. We've just had a 2:49 kilometre, but up ahead, imminently up ahead. In fact, I think they're in the early stages of this camping ground climb that is really pretty brutal. I don't think, just looking to see what experience of the course we have in that leading group, I'm not sure any of these leading 3 have run this route before. So they may have been driven over it, they may have studied the topography, they may know there's a hill to come. But I, having been driven on it, I think that's a significant climb. It lasts, well, the overall distance that they take in is between 9 and 11 kilometres. And it is a rise in all from sea level. There it is, Camping Hill climb. It's a rise of about 70 metres in total. So it's significant. And you can see the heads are down. The cadence has changed. There's not quite so much bounce in the stride. It does go on a bit, this hill. So anybody that thinks that Roma Ostia is pancake flat needs to come and run this section of the course, because it's anything but. Kemai having a look back, the diminutive figure in the red there. Are we safe in 3rd? Yes, you are. Can you win the race? Not sure, because there is some bounce in Rupp, and Kangogo, although he's got that loping action, still looks pretty good value, closest to the white line on the left-hand side of the shot. Kangogo was 6th in Riyadh in February, just a few weeks ago, 62.09. And he has run this course before. He's the one with the experience. He was 59.31 for 2nd place last year, so he does know what lies ahead. That's perhaps why he's looking a bit anxious, because this hill just goes on. So Rupp has the track pedigree, he's got the pace. He won't necessarily have raced against either of these 2 guys before. Yeah, and Camping Hill is by far the most decisive hill in the race, not just because of the length of it, but because of where it comes. Just as they've settled in the midpoint of the race, just as they've hit a really good stride, it starts to rise up ahead of them. And they'll be able to see the whole climb, because this is a straight section. Elite runners don't take drinks, not in a half marathon, because for them it's only 57, 58, 59 minutes of work. So they don't need to get those glycogen systems firing in the same way as some of the runners who are going to take 2 hours, or in the same way as they would if they were running a full marathon distance. So Rupp with the crucifix bouncing around on his chest. Likes to precede his spring marathon with a race in Europe. So he ran a half marathon a year ago. And was only 6th there in a high 61-minute time. This is operating significantly quicker than that. We're still just inside 59-minute pace. So for Rupp, the fastest he's ever run a half marathon, ignoring any point-to-point considerations. There's the pacemaker, Emmanuel Kipsang. I think he's going to finish it off. I think he's going to be in the prize money, but he still has 25 minutes of running to cope with, and a lead of probably over a minute behind him. In the background you can see those dark clouds that are causing the rainfall at the moment, and what are predicted to be thunderstorms in an hour or 2. So I don't know whether you decide this race is lucky or unlucky in avoiding those thunderstorms. So it's still Cheshire leading, as she has done throughout. Dira of Ethiopia alongside her, and then the one that has always occupied the back marker position there is Heftanimesh Tesfaye Hailu. Cheshire's best 68.21, getting the encouragement from their pacemaker. It's pretty clear from that Giovanni Gualdi is there to encourage them. 32 minutes at 10 kilometres, so still on for 67, 68 minutes or thereabouts. But it looks a little bit too comfortable, doesn't it? A little bit too cosy between these 3. You sense that within those 3, with the rivalry between Ethiopia and Kenya, that somebody will go for it. What's probably delaying that is the hill that they've just started to climb, and also the amount of distance they would have to cover on a long run for home. So now Kimai starting to just show at the front. 63-minute man, or 62.24, but his other two personal bests are nowhere near the others. So on his stats, we're given 30.24 for his 10k PB, 2.15 for a marathon. Well, he's running out of his socks, if those are an indicator of his true form, because we are operating at sub 59 minutes. So he's into new territory, bit of spitting going on all around. But Kemai looks bouncy, looks full of confidence. They're pretty much over the crest of that hill into the second half of the race now. So a nice downhill on which to unwind. There's the vehicle with some media in it, and Alberto Salazar supporting Galen Rupp in the men's race. This is fourth place with Emmanuel Kipsang. So they will know there are no more uphills left for the men. The women are right in the heart of the hill, but for the men, everything is either downhill or flat from here. That is the halfway point for the women, so they've almost crested the hill. They have a long downhill run, and for the first time, Chessier, zigzagging across the course, doesn't hold the lead, so perhaps going through a bad patch, the #1 seed in the red. That's the first time, and she looks just slightly more laboured, doesn't she, than the other two. So Kenya in red, the two Ethiopians in the blue. Halu and Dira. Rupp looking pretty frisky, but still not taking a step of lead yet. Well, they're running right over in the dusty stuff and where the tree roots are. I don't think there's a bend in the road. They just seem mesmerised by that white line, but it doesn't mark a racing line. It's just the edge of the pavement, as it were, the edge of the carriageway. So the splits have been, the kilometre splits have only been barely under 3 minutes. We had one that was a little bit slower than that, in fact, on the complete uphill section. But now, as they pass the drum band, they are into the final 23 minutes or so of the race. And looking around, now it gets tactical. They could all make a bolt for it, but it is a long, long way to push on. Is somebody going to put in a little testing surge? Is this a surge from Kemai? There's confirmation of Kangogo's second place a year ago. So in a field of 12,000 or 11,500 runners, these three have found themselves in a spot of their own, way, way clear of the rest of the field. The only people up ahead will be the people taking part in the walk, the recreational walk that accompanies this event. You can see a bit of heel and toe going on the hard shoulder there. Kemai, I think this looks at his watch almost as a reflex reaction, because there's nothing really that he can tell from that. Ben Hardy, birthday boy, I think he will be back in 5th or 6th place at the moment, but running well. It's just a long and lonely run for him, getting a bit of encouragement from the walkers and the paramedics on the course. So this is Jeff Whiteman with coverage of the Huawei Roma Ostia Half Marathon, the 2018 edition, the 44th running. Still 3 men and 3 women challenging for the title in 2018. You can see a slower segment has brought their predicted finishing time back down, but we've got a real race in prospect, and this is Chessier now just taking it on again behind Giovanni Gualdi. And they were shoulder to shoulder, weren't they? And the move into single file, perhaps a sign that 1 or 2 in that group are starting to hurt. Still Rupp at the back of the group, still operating inside 59-minute schedule, and they are accelerating again with this downhill section. It's Kemai that's doing the work at the head of the field. Kangogo looks to be the one that's suffering most, and Rupp looks the freshest. from here, it is a 20-minute run for home. It's a distance they run every day of their lives, but 20 minutes. Oh, Rupp moving wide. Is this the surge? Kemai thinks it is. He goes to cover. Kangogo tries to cover, but he can't. So maybe that was the tester from Rupp that he needed, just to see who's up for it. And Kemai matched him. But Kangogo now hanging on by his shoelaces at the back of that leading group. Kemai looks round, knows that they are down to 2 if he can keep the pressure on. Wow, you can see visually, look at the turnover on this section of the course. Smooth asphalt surface. Maybe a bit of respite from the breeze with that hedge on their left shoulder. And back in the women's race, it's as you were with the 3. Chisire, Dira and Halu. Kemai just with a stride ahead of Rupp. Chisire just with half a stride. So as ever, I think there are something like 2,000 to 3,000 Kenyans who make their living around the world from running. So in any given weekend, there will be Kenyans winning the races where the prize money is. And Rupp pretty much in this race carried a lone torch for non-African interest, but he's going well. Just draws alongside. We go back down the field. I think this will be to about 6th or 7th place or thereabouts to Felician Muhitira of Rwanda. And when you look at him, you can see he's moving well, but he's the chaser, but that's the chase that he's got to undertake. It's hefty. So down to 2 in the men's, still the same 3 in the women's. The time just drifting a little bit. I think the course record is going to be safe. So Kemai putting in surges. Is this a decisive one? Can Rupp cover this one? Kemai, very twitchy runner, isn't he? He makes the surge and then looking both sides constantly. Doesn't seem terribly at ease with the burst that he's putting in. It's opening them clear of 3rd place, but Rupp, when he looks over his left shoulder, is still there. So now we're into the last 18 minutes or so of racing, and Rupp looking super smooth. Oh, just a bit of contact there. They got the whole carriageway. Don't think Kemai liked that. So Rupp, just to avoid that happening again, because anybody can go down when there's contact, just moves out wide to the diminutive Kemai's shoulder. Now Salazar is in that bus. What's he going to say? Go now? Stay? Sit in? Test him? Fascinating race in prospect. Oh, another surge from Kemai. Running this race almost like a fartlek session with sudden bursts of speed. It's draining for him, but if he can succeed in dropping Rupp, it could be a winning tactic. But Rupp, taking his time, just comes back on board. And Kemai looking and saying, well, your turn maybe, Rupp. If you're that good, take a turn at the lead. Come on, man. And Rupp's having none of it. So it is Kenya against the USA. 17 minutes of racing left, and anybody's race between the very lively Kemai and the very composed and cool Galen Rupp for the USA in 2nd place. There they are on the course. And another surge comes in from Rupp, immediately countered by Kemai. But these changes of pace will be sapping. It's the least efficient way of running a half marathon. And Kemai in particular seems to be responding instantly to any drawing alongside by Rupp. So this is a key point in the race for these 2. Rupp again draws alongside. Kemai looking, doesn't have to look, he can feel him there, elbow to elbow. 15-kilometre split, unofficially 42-41, so that was a 2:55 segment. That's actually drifting out beyond 59 minutes, but I think You can visually see there's some acceleration going on. Just key that against the athlete in third place. So 2:51, estimating 60:06. So they've drifted outside the hour. But I wouldn't be surprised if this battle and the surges that are coming in bring their kilometre splits down. They do have the downhill in their favour because it is this portion of the course downhill, but they do have that headwind coming off the sea as they get closer to the ocean at Ostia. Rupp looks super smooth here. Kemai looks a little bit rattled, doesn't he? A natural front runner, and maybe Rupp has realised that if you come to his shoulder, he doesn't like it. So Rupp opens up half a stride. What's Kemai got? He's responded to everything so far as we enter the last 15 minutes of the race. And Kemai responds again. Moses Kemai, 24-year-old from Kenya. I mentioned that his personal bests are nowhere close to the Rupp league. 62:24 half marathon, 30:24 10k, 2:15 full marathon, and maybe that class now beginning to tell. Rupp surging, and if he looks or if he listens for the footsteps, he will know that he has opened up. Is this the long run for home for Galen Rupp of the USA? Still three together, the same three as it ever was in the women's race. Chisiri, Halu, and closest to the camera, Shankula. So Rupp, he's made a decisive surge, but the relaxation complete. They're very, very smooth operator. That 4-foot strike. And it looks to me this is now his race to lose. There's no sign of him going through a bad patch. If anything, he is accelerating. He's done this in his marathons where the third quarter of the race is oh, and look what he's opened up. Wow. Huge lead now, instantly. Well, I wonder if that is an indication of Rupp going well or Kemai going badly, or both. Kemai's personal best meant that he shouldn't really have been living with Rupp. And Rupp has bided his time as we go through 16 kilometres. I had that unofficially at 45:26. We've got 10 miles for those of you who still buy your sweets by the quarter pound. The imperial distance coming up. And it's proved to be a in fact, that was 10 miles. So Rupp was around about, you can see at the Toblerone at the roadside, Rupp may be about 45:42 for 10 miles. So in the US, if you're following this, you will know he is back sub 60. And it's a 5-second gap from Rupp to Kemai. And I really don't think Kemai's coming back from that, because a lot of his efforts were made in the preceding kilometres trying to hold those surges. And it was one surge too many from Rupp, who we never saw lead even a step of the race. He covered all the moves without taking the lead. So that's a Kemai eye view of the long straight road ahead. Rupp really now into top gear. This will be a super confidence booster for him. It's a stellar Boston Marathon field that he will face, but if he goes into it as a winner of Roma Ostia, the classic road race, that will really lift him. Very lightly raced now that he's turned his attention to the road distance. So Halu is our new leader in the women's, and Chesir just struggling a little bit at the back of that group. Dida Dira, the second Ethiopian. So Ethiopia 1, Ethiopia 2, Kenya 3. Now 31 years of age. A lot of miles in those legs, but moving very, very smoothly at the moment. The Oregon-based athlete. Part of the Oregon Project, coached by Alberto Salazar since high school. camera gets a wipe as we go back to 4th place, and I think that is a man who will be filling every step of the rest of this way. It's Emmanuel Kipsang, who was the early leader. He did a great job in setting it up for Rupp. The cyclists over there on the other carriageway, the only supporters he's got, because this is a major motor link between the coast and the city centre, so not particularly spectator friendly. Salazar will be in the adjacent bus as we go through 17 kilometres with just over 4 kilometres to run for Rupp. This is a winning run. How quick can he go? So he's won medals on the track, numerous US titles, NCAA collegiate titles, member of a vintage crop of runners at the University of Oregon. But now into the final phase of his racing career, exclusively on the roads. And this is a big one, a big day for Galen Rupp on the 44th running of the Huawei Roma Ostia half marathon. He is away and clear. He's about 9.5 minutes from the finish. So he'll be able to sense that, and he's looking good and I think feeling good. So a good run for him. The women through 15 kilometres in 49.30. Still the Ethiopian 1-2. Halu looks over, gestures to her teammate to come alongside Dira. So I don't know, the time may be drifting slightly. You can see, yes, we're drifting out to 69.30 in the women's race. And I think it's because it's been so companionable, especially between those two leading Ethiopians. Nothing companionable about this. It was Rupp against the world, and at the moment, Rupp wins. Over 50 minutes now, an important psychological tick over on the lead clock that he can see just ahead of him. Into the last 9 or 10 minutes of racing for Rupp. He will want to go sub 60, but he will need to keep accelerating at the speed that he's run the last kilometre to bring himself home in sub 60. So we've got the split screen of the two leaders. Barring disaster, Rupp is going to win this. The only question is by how much and in what time. Halu, meanwhile, has been a bit chatty with her teammate, Dira, but Dira now, that's the distance back down the road, and the knee lift has gone a little bit. And we don't even know if she's safe in second. We need to track back to see how the third place athlete, Chasia, last year's fourth placer, is doing by comparison. So the crowds will get thicker now as we reach the residential outskirts of Ostia for Galen Rupp. When he turns onto the seafront, there's a double back of about 280 metres in each direction. The rain hasn't particularly troubled him. The headwind hasn't especially troubled him. He's moving well inside 60-minute pace there. Now you can see, well, not well inside, he's 5 seconds inside, but he has brought it back down to a respectable time. .60.30 is his best. So whilst this is not a record ratifying course because of the separation between start and finish and the straight line that they run, and the fact that it can mean a tailwind, although this year it means a headwind, it is going to be a lifetime best for Rupp. That won't matter to him, I don't think, as much as winning against opposition like this and going so well with 4 weeks to go to Boston. So in the States, whatever time it is that you're watching this here, this just whets the appetite, doesn't it? Because it's going to be a classic win for Rupp, barring a complete meltdown in the last mile or two, and it puts him in good shape for the Boston Marathon, a race where he's finished second, but I would think will install himself as possible race favourite, having won Chicago last autumn. And there you can see the respective pink and blue dots on the graphic representation on the course. So Rupp into the final mile or so. And Halu of Ethiopia, the 74-minute runner, is going to be well inside that. It's going to be a personal best by a huge margin. Heftanamesh Tesfaye Hailou. She turned 24 just a couple of weeks ago with that sort of trademark Ethiopian style of the high arms drilled right up against the chest. Well, if Rupp looks back, I think he'll struggle even to see second place now. So when they were so close together and both running so well, you would never have imagined that he could have opened up a lead of, well, it must be 3/4 of a minute or thereabouts. I don't think he needs to look back. He's just given himself the workout that he wants and the win that he wanted, having travelled so far for this race. There were races in the States that he could have taken as an option. Roma Ostia is his choice. He's been good to Roma Ostia, and Roma Ostia looks like it's going to be good to Galen Rupp. And that's all he's got left, 2.15 kilometre. We're getting the Tour de France style graphic counting down the distance to the finish line as he goes through 19 kilometres. And Rupp bringing it down inside 60 minutes now. Don't think he can pick it up quite to a 59.30. 59.43 is the US record. This wouldn't count as a record, but that time by Ryan Hall has stood for 11 years, set in Houston, 59.43. Hailou operating inside 70-minute pace. Can she bring it round to a 69? You can see the umbrellas out in force, and she does take a drink. None of the men have, because it's just an hour's worth of effort, but she decides that she does need that bit of refreshment just to pep things up a little bit for her final 14 minutes or so. So that's the racing eye view of the women's race. I wonder if we're going to track back and see third. So Dida in second, Hailou leading, and it was Chessier back in third. You can see Rupp just bringing it down gradually. We've now got a predicted finish of 59.54, but he is getting quicker by a second or two with each kilometre split, and very much into full-on racing mode. I don't know how he manages to concentrate with that clunking crucifix necklace around his shoulders there. It does bounce around a lot, doesn't it? He's obviously very used to it in training and racing, but it looks like a distraction. Well, it's going to be a huge personal best for this man, having been brave and been bold. Moses Kemai of Kenya. Let's see if he can see Rupp. Well, there's Rupp up ahead, last mile. That's an unusual board to see, especially if you're used to metric. Rupp's already seen it. And maybe in the distance he can see the ocean as well, because we are into the closing stages, kicking in a bit now. Rupp in pursuit of the extra seconds. The race is won. Beautiful tactical run, super smooth run. I imagine the instruction will have been, as it is for many marathon runners doing their final half marathon, get to the finish, and imagine if you'd just gone a little bit slower, you could have gone round twice. And Rupp at the moment looks like he could operate for a long, long way at this speed. It's very efficient. He's got 40 seconds, as you can see on the graphic, over Kemai. The race is won, but what's the time going to be for Rupp? Hailou moving away. Look at the rain coming down. Thunderstorms predicted, but he's going to be home for tea and toast before the worst of the weather comes down. But don't let anybody tell you these have been good weather conditions. It's been a slight headwind, and it has been rain pretty much from when they were gathered on the start line. So Rupp powering his way through it. 57 minutes in, looking for as far under 60 as he can get. This has been a masterclass. He's down to 59.54, but working hard, and he can close quickly. Rupp still got the track speed in his leg. Slight downhill section there, bouncing along. Compare that with the athlete back in third place. But it's all about Rupp now as we come into the seaside residential area. Lots of support. Umbrella Central. There'll be many takers in the Lido this afternoon. Rupp can enjoy this, but he has a double back section before he gets to the finish line. So there he goes away from the finish. There's the actual finish line, the other side of the barriers there, so he can see it, but he's still got just over a minute's worth of running. And what time can he bring himself down to? There's Kemai. I think the foreshortening means that those positions are safe, but Kangogo has got up to third place ahead of the long-term pacemaker Emmanuel Kipsang. They're both running on opposite sides of the carriageway. So in a moment it will be a sharp left, the final turn of the race for Galen Rupp of the USA. He came here for the win, he came here for the fast time, he's going to get both. If he came for the weather, he's unlucky. If he came for a tailwind, he's also unlucky. There's the final turn. Oh, takes it slowly, so maybe he's more tired than he thought. That will have cost him a couple of seconds. He gets going again. I wonder if he was just not taking any chances with his hamstrings and calves there. But that was, wow. Didn't go for the wide sweep there. He took the narrowest line, but he almost stopped. Now sprinting, what can he do? Into the last couple of 100 meters of the race. Salazar's vehicle will have pulled clear to enable him to take up position at the finish line. I saw them hug just before the start. This was obviously an important workout, and it is ticked off the list. Mission accomplished. The 44th winner of the Huawei Roma Ostia half marathon is going to be Galen Rupp of the USA, and the time is going to be a good one. The fastest he's ever run for the half marathon. Great running, unofficially 59:47. Rupp wins.
Abbiamo scritto una pagina di storia quest'oggi, la storia dell'atletica italiana, la storia della Roma Ostia. Si parlerà di...
Well, we didn't see how Kemai took that final turn, hopefully a little bit more elegantly than Rupp, but he's looking a bit more dog-tired down this closing section of the race. He's had to stay on it because they're all a bit tired, aren't they, around that turn? Very weary hairpin for runners that are within sprinting distance of the finish. And look at what Rupp has opened up over Kemai. Huge margin, and all of it done in the last quarter of the race. There's a man celebrating his 18th birthday. He can party on this afternoon. So Kemai running strongly. It's going to be a massive lifetime best for him and elevates him to a new class of road racing compared to where his previous performances have had him. So unofficially 60-44 for Kemai to take the silver. And Justus Kangogo of Kenya is going to take third place. Came through strongly over the last third of the race to catch the pacemaker. A minute 16 down on Rupp, unofficially 61:03. Halu in the women's race has about 6 or 7 minutes of running still to come. It's all downhill for her. We've seen this for Rupp. It's a nice sweep down to the finish line. The climbs are over. She was very convivial with her teammates, but not looking back now. Lifetime best of 74, 10K best of 33:53, 2:20 marathon runner. And that perhaps gives the indication of the strength that she's shown in the second half of the race. Her marathon best is way superior to any of her other times. Oh, the Rwandan just being directed to the men's finishing chute. Felicien Muhitira brings it home just outside his lifetime best, only a few seconds outside. Big gaps. Ben Hardy has had a very isolated run. Most of them have. There's not too many clusters of runners in this elite men's field. The gaps that opened up in the first half of the race have very much stayed there.
Intanto sono arrivati i primi 4, attendiamo gli altri. Ecco qui, vediamo, è arrivato anche Kangogo, secondo classificato lo scorso anno, quest'anno ha voluto replicare la sua partecipazione.
I wonder if the cameras are riding with Ben Hardy because it is his 18th birthday, a very special day for him. It's going to be more than 3 minutes behind the leaders, but it's been a lifetime best for him, and he can go and cake out this afternoon. Happy birthday. And the rain getting heavier and heavier. For the elites, it doesn't matter. It came on mid-race, quite refreshing at a certain level, and perhaps takes the edge off the wind. Stephen Chebogat of Kenya, the 23-year-old, finishing. Harisa also brings it home, 63.27 unofficially, or 63.28. Still only had about 10 finishers. We're looking back at the 20-kilometre point, so just over a kilometre to run for Halu of Ethiopia. Well, I hope wherever you're enjoying watching these pictures from the 44th Huawei Roma Ostia Half Marathon, that if you're a runner or thinking about becoming a runner, it might feature in your plans. It's a beautiful course in a beautiful city, the Eternal City. Great weekend to spend with family, club mates, colleagues. It's a year away, the 45th edition. Oliferenko of Ukraine, we caught a glimpse of him here, there. Those gaps in the women's race aren't significant. It is still the same pacemaker, Giovanni Gualdi, but when we do get the head-on shot, it will fall short in a little bit, but I think there are only 4 or 5 second gaps. So if anybody's feeling good, there's Gualdi, who's done this right from the start. At a distance, it has to be said, so not breaking any wind for the athletes. So it's the head-on shot that will... I thought we saw the first 3 women there in the same camera shot head-on, which would indicate that they are less than 10 seconds apart. And that, in a half marathon, is a bridgeable gap if anybody gets inspired. So there's that second place on the right-hand side of the shot.
Naturalmente il nostro in bocca al lupo e il nostro, scusate, il nostro riconoscimento più grande va a tutti gli altri atleti dal Kenya e dall'Etiopia che hanno animato questi 21 km.
So this is Marcel Burney of Switzerland, a 65.26 runner, so he's just going to finish fractionally outside that, which might explain the nodding head there, but a good run in these conditions. Now, when we look back, no, it's a big gap. That must have been the gap between second and third that we were looking at. Joe Gray of the USA bringing it home. Second finisher for America. 65.50. Lifetime best of 63.42. So second and third are keenly contested.
Che ogni anno sempre più numeroso, proveniente da tutto il mondo, dà vita a questo serpentone colorato che oggi è il protagonista indiscusso della 44esima edizione della Roma Ostia, un serpentone fatto di colore.
Well, they must have been running on opposite sides of the carriageway or something. That's on the head-on, that can make a gap of 30 seconds look like it's pretty close, but that isn't 30 seconds, is it? That's Halu ahead of Dida Dira. I don't think she's going to be able to bridge that, especially if she's getting that encouragement from the Italian men's pacemaker, wanting the crowd to support her. I think the race is done at this point as they make the final turn, but a lot closer affair than the men's was in the elite women's. Look at her sprinting now. Let's see if she can take that final chicane. Who was, for whatever reason, reduced to a walk as he took the final turn, having been moving well. So this is the right-hand sweep. Then there'll be the left-hand hairpin. Heftanamesh Tesfaye Halu of Ethiopia, 24 years of age, 74 minutes, 74.12, her lifetime best. She's going to obliterate that. Breathing a bit heavily now. You can see that that little surge that she's put in, urged on by her pacemaker, has been hard. Let's see how she takes the final hairpin. We've seen a variety of techniques, haven't we? I think the wide sweep would be the kindest one on tired legs. So Hailu, she's past the finish line. Now she has to turn and face it. You can see the rain is torrential now, but she's out of the headwind that will have been noticeable for so long. And here she comes to the hairpin. Takes it better than Rupp. And now it's just under 280 meters for her to sprint to the finish. Gualdi, the pacemaker, kicks on to get his own individual time. And Hafatanamesh Hailu of Ethiopia is going to be the women's champion in 2018. Hope it is the springboard for her to go on to do big things in road racing. I think what could have been a super fast time has just drifted away because of the competitive element with those two Ethiopian women and the Kenyan Chesia locked together for so much of the race. As we look at the athlete Dera in second. But Hailu got away in the final quarter of the race, and this is going to be a notable win for her. The men are directed down the right-hand side gantry as we look at it, and she is going to take the win at Huawei Roma Ostia in 2018. Celebrates just outside 69 minutes. And really not too far behind. We can see the gap, 8 seconds, 10 seconds coming up. Dida Dira herself running well, but the crucial gap was perhaps on the uphill section of the race, just around halfway, 22, 23 seconds behind per second. So it's an Ethiopian 1-2 in the women's event. And we're looking back for third place. When last we checked, it was Rebecca Chesia, last year's fourth placer. A towel for sweat and a towel for rain. Somebody said they don't get lots of rain in Rome. Well, they've had a fair share today. That looks like Chesia just rounding the turn. So just a minute behind the winning time for the winner, for Hailu. Oh, and that's a weary running action, isn't it? Chesia, who did so much of the early front running, just bringing it home. Still a fast time, but I think she's found the final stages of the race very, very tough indeed. So it's quick. We're still going to be under 71 minutes, but she perhaps hoped for better things. So Chesia is going to complete the podium. We will have a presentation of awards.
Dovremmo essere pronti a completare il podio femminile. A quanto vedo appare anche la sagoma della terza donna dei nostri paraggi. E quindi pronti con le mani su Ostia. You can see the man behind closing her down. I think she's really run out of energy. Just going to be right on 71 minutes. 71, 1, 2, 3.
Chenkule, also of Ethiopia, completes the top 4 in the women's. Came through pretty well in the second half of the race there. There's confirmation of that win for Galen Rupp. Sub 60 minutes for the first time. And a great run, the run of his life for Kemai in second. Justus Kangogo got up well for third. The honour of the first Italian, Carlegh Bari, in 67.52 in 13th overall ahead of Luca Parisi. Confirmation of the women's podium. A few lifetime bests further down, and you can see good running from the two Italians, Console and Pina, in 6th and 7th. Here's a reprise. The win went to Galen Rupp in his fastest ever time, breaking 60 minutes for the first time for the half marathon distance.